Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to today's teaching. The video of today is going to be centered on how to use VBA macro to automate our reports. Today is the 10th of November 2022, and it's our day 3. We have started 7 days of Microsoft Excel Automation Challenge. And I would really encourage you to go back to the first 2 videos and check them out because they will provide you the necessary foundation as you build on this learning step by step. The first day, I think we concentrated on using some dynamic array formulas like index and match to return results. And the second day, we did more of cell range naming. And we also incorporated some form of formula automation. Today, we are still going to build on that same learning. We are still going to apply some Excel formulas. And at the same time, we want to be able to record macros in order to make our report automated. That by the click of a button, you should be able to generate all your reports. So that is the agenda of today. So what this is saying is that the geeks and the nerds still live in Excel. And what are they doing? They are doing VBA. They are doing macros. Who are the geeks and the nerds? The geeks and the nerds are experts, professionals, especially in IT world. And they are still there. Many people believe that you cannot code in Excel, you cannot do this in Excel because Excel is outdated, Excel is old. But you won't be surprised that there's still a lot of coding that can be done in Excel. Excel is one of the few open source software that allows you into its backend that you can even produce your own formula, you can produce your own functions. So there are still IT professionals coding in Excel using VBA and recording macros. So today, what are we going to be centering our attention on? How to create an automated date. A dating system whereby when you put the input parameter, you put the output parameter, you put the opening parameter and the ending parameter. The date should be able to generate itself to iterate over and over again without going past the ending date that had been inputted into it. So this is what we're going to achieve today. Also, we're going to record some VBA macros and perform simple data analysis. So this is me here. You can see the smiling young man by the right-hand side. My name is Segun Adeomi. I'm the lead technical consultant at Wally Global Consults. And in case you want to reach out to me on the social media, these are my link. I'm available on LinkedIn. That is my website, www.wallyglobalconsult.com. I also blog very frequently on WordPress. You can go there and read some of the articles I've written in the past. I'm on Twitter and I have videos on YouTube that I really encourage you to go and check them out. There is a full comprehensive video on financial modeling and valuation. I think it's a video of about 15, 16 hours, and I'm very sure that is going to be helpful for you. Go there and check it out. So right now, I'm just going to jump over to Microsoft Excel so that we can start the task of today. I believe many of you are already familiar with this data, this AUM data that we've been using since the beginning of this series. I told you about the date, the ISIN, the tickers, which represents the assets that are available for investment. This is the NAV that represents the share price or value per share. We also have the AUM, which is the value of the investment or the value of the shares, and also the outstanding shares. Most of us are accountants, so I believe this shouldn't be very difficult for us to understand. So let me quickly read to you the task of today. Okay, so, all right. So what are we looking to do today? The task is create a dynamic array formula or VBA macro, button activated. It will take the fund start date and end date as parameters and paste the data below. Produce a chart of AUM and shares outstanding. Shares outstanding should be on the secondary axis from this data. So in order to understand that better, this is the fund, this is the start date, and this is the end date. We're going to pick these three parameters to create our dates, and we use the date that we've created to return our NAV, AUM, and shares outstanding. But the NAV, AUM, and shares outstanding must be related to this EMQQ fund because there are three categories of fund. But the one we are interested in is this EMQQ. And the data that should be returned should be between 1st of January 2021 and 31st of December 2021, I beg your pardon. This one also should be 2021. So let me quickly read the task again so that you can understand what we're talking about. So it's saying, create a dynamic array formula or VBA macro. It will take the fund, that is the EMQQ, the start date, 1st of January 2021, and the end date, that 1st of January 2021, as parameters, and paste the data below. Produce a chart of AUM and shares outstanding, secondary axis, from this data. I hope you get that. So the first thing we're going to do is that we're going to produce our array of dates from 1st of January 2021 to 31st of December 2021. And what we could have done is to just say this and add one, so that we can just add code 1, this plus 1, like that. But we want to do something much more dynamic, something much more better, so that we can iterate over and over again. So we can say, we can use our if formula. If, what is the logical test? This function is asking us for the logical test. The logical test should be if this start date, which I want to fix, plus 1. The start date plus 1, meaning that 1st of January 2021 plus 1, that is 2nd of January 2021. Is it greater than 31st of December 2021? Of course not. It's not greater than 31st of December 2021. So as long as that is true, that is, if 2nd of January 2021 is greater than 31st of December 2021, then return me blank. Unfortunately, this time around is false. So value if false. If false, it should just give me this date, 1st of January 2021 plus 1. So you can see now that we have our 2nd of January 2021 because it is not true. As long as it is false, it will keep giving me this first date plus 1. So that is exactly what we want to achieve. And another thing is that this place that we have hard-coded 1, that means that we have to keep hard-coding all over again because we have to be adding 1, 2 to this beginning date. And in order to make it even more dynamic, we can leverage the row function in Excel. There's a function in Excel that is called row. Row, and if I reference the first row here, it's giving me 1. If I should do that same thing again, row, and reference the second row, it's giving me 2. You can see, then we can continue like that by adding, instead of hard coding these numbers, we can just use our row function to replace this hard coded number. Because by the time we go to the next row, we're still going to hard code 2. And we can continue like that for 365 days. So instead of that, let's just use this row function, and it's going to, add that number to it automatically. So this is what I'm telling you. So we can take this one out and say if, we're going to repeat the same formula. What is the logical test again? Our start date, which is 1st of January 2021, and we want to fix that with F4, plus row, we reference the first row. It could be any of this column, but let's just use this A1. And then, are you greater than the ending dates, which I will also fix? As I explained before, it is not greater than that. So as long as it is false, it will return me this date, 1st of January 2021 plus 1. But if that is true, that means by the time we get to the 31st of December 2021, that will be true because it's no longer greater than 31st of December 2021 that we have here as the ending date. So that will be true, and that will return what? It will return a blank. So as long as this is true, return me a blank. And the way we input blank in Excel or in any programming language is to use this string, that is double quotation. So value if false should be this beginning date, 1st of January 2021 plus 1. And that is just it. So from here, we can then scroll down. So if you are familiar with SQL, you will realize that this is what is called recursive CTA. It's very similar to recursive CTA, recursive common table expression. And what that does is that it can generate you an array of dates on the fly without necessarily having to hard code them, especially when you don't have date dimension in your set of data or in your database. So you can see now that by the time we go to 31st of December 2021, it stopped automatically, and everything else, these are all formulas, but it's returning blank because it's already greater than the ending date, which is 31st of December 2021, and it's returning this blank here. So I hope you understand that. Perfect. So you can also go over it as many times as possible until you get the concept. Let me just try to zoom out a little bit so that it will be very friendly to our eyes. So the next thing now is that we should return this NAV for EMQQ between this date and this date, the start date and the end date. So we are going to return our data set from this sheet here, from the AUM worksheet. And if you remembered last time, I explained to you the concept of cell range naming, renaming a range of cell. So if you're not conversant with that yet, I really advise you to go back there and and learn that. So here we're just gonna highlight the whole range of dates and rename it as reg underscore dates. And we do the same thing for all the columns. This one will be reg underscore ISIN. And this will be reg underscore ticker. And the year, we name it as reg underscore NAV. Mind you, you can name this thing anything you desire. You must not necessarily follow the way I'm doing it or my naming mechanism. You can decide to do it however convenient for you. This one will be reg underscore AUM. Or, okay, I think instead of using reg, I can actually change it to something else. Let me just use AUM underscore date. Okay, the way you do that, if you want to change your cell naming, the way you do that is to come to these formulas. It's even an opportunity for me to explain this to you. When you come to formulas, then you click your name manager. From formula ribbon, you see name manager. Then you click on your name manager. You can then highlight everything or highlight whatever you want to delete and then delete it like this. So after deleting, we can then start again. Let's say this should be AUM underscore date. So I want to use this, the sheet name so that we can understand better. In case you have so many cell name that you've done, you'll be able to like say, okay, this one is coming from this worksheet, this is coming from this worksheet. So here will be AUM underscore ISIN. And the next one will be AUM underscore ticker. These are powerful Excel functions that makes you work efficiently, that makes you work quickly. AUM underscore NAV. And here we have AUM underscore AUM, because this is actually AUM data sets. So here we have AUM underscore shares outstanding. Let's name that SO, shares outstanding. So perfect. We can then go back to our task worksheet and say, since we want to return this AUM, we're still going to leverage that our index match function, whereby we pass double condition into our match function. I know you know this thing. You're already familiar with it from previous classes. So we can then say index. Where do we want to return from? That is what it's asking by saying array. So we want to return from the AUM column, right? And since we have already renamed that column, instead of going back to highlight over again and this painful process that we've been going through in the past, so we can decide to avoid that now. Now that we've been able to use a better function in Excel, let's just reference that cell range naming that we did by saying AUM underscore NAV. And you can see that we have already returned that particular range of data without having to highlight over them as we've been doing before. And another way to bring out this your cell name is to just click on F3. When you click, okay, we're saying index. So we want to bring back our NAV range of data. Just press your F3 and it will bring it out. And you can then select the one that you want. By having selected my AUM underscore NAV, I just click OK. And now I have it. So Excel is asking for the row number. Then the row number, I want to use a match function for that. And of course, match function will be asking you for the lookup value. What value am I going to look up for? And even before we do that, we have to use our one, as I explained before, in order to pass our double condition. So the double condition is here. What do we want to look up for here? Well, the first condition, I'm trying to pass the first condition now. We are saying that the date here, which I want to fix the column, but allow the rows to move, should be equal to the dates in our AUM worksheet, the array of dates. And instead of going back to highlight, you can just say AUM underscore dates. And we close the first condition that we've passed. So the second condition will be, it must also, the assets here, which is the EMQQ, which we want to fix that completely, should be equal to the array of assets. And that is our ticker. We have like 3 different kinds of assets or 3 different kinds of shares that investors can invest in. And this EMQQ is just one of them. So we want to return these out of others. So this EMQQ should be equal to EMQQ on the AUM worksheet. So we're going to say AUM underscore ticker. We bring that out. So we've passed the second condition. And having done that, Excel is asking us for the kind of match we want. We want a perfect match. Then close your match function, close your index function, and click OK. So we've returned $18.21 as the NAV of EMQQ on 1st of January 2021. Let's just quickly verify that to be sure that our formula has worked correctly. So let's go to 2021. Or instead of, let me just try to filter so that I can be fast. So I can come here, and then filter like this. So I think it's still going to be a bit. Okay, let me just filter only AUM. I mean EMQQ like that. So let's go to 1st of January 2021. So here, this is the 1st of January 2021, and you can see that EMQQ is what? Is 18.21. And by the time we do the same thing for our AUM, we should be having this 226, 200, like that, and we should have this 12.4 million. So you can see that now. Let me just remove our filter so that I don't forget. Let me remove the filter. I've cleared the filter. Then we can come here. We can just copy to the right. And then you remember that this is still referencing this AUM_NAV. So we have to change that to AUM_AUM. AUM_AUM. And now we are returning our 226 million. So the same thing we're going to do here. And here also, we have to reference our AUM_shares outstanding. And now we have our shares outstanding, but we can reformat that cell so that we remove the currency and replace it by number. We can just say number custom. Let's just do it this way. Let's remove decimal and then leave it that way. Okay. So that is it. Then we can take everything. We can take everything down like this. So we already have our data populated. So all these places are where we have dates. So let me just delete all these ones here. Okay, that is it. We've been able to populate our data, and now we can create our charts. Now we can perform different data analyses that we wish to perform. But right now, I want to introduce you to that concept of VBA macro. So in order to do that, I will delete all these things that we've done again, and we start all over again. And we are now going to record everything in macro. So I want to advise you that when you are trying to record macro, endeavor to write down, the list of what you want to perform and the step-by-step approach that you want to take so that you don't forget anything. Even the very macro experts, they used to forget some steps. And make sure that when you come here to your developer tag and you start recording your macro, remember to always stop macro after you've completed your task. Don't forget to leave the macro recording on. So this is where we record our macro from by coming to the developer tab. Then you can see Visual Basic. This is where you code in VBA. This is where you record your macro. And you want to check, if you want to check your list of macros, you click on this particular button here. So in case you don't have this macro tab in your Excel, don't panic. What you're going to do is just that you go to your file, and then from file, you click on options. Then in your options window here, you come to your customize ribbon. When you get to customize ribbon, you will see this box that is called developer. In case that is unchecked in your Excel, you will need to check it. So by the time you check it and click on OK, automatically you will see your developer tab here. So you can then come here and click on record macro. So there's another thing here that is called using relative reference. This is another concept entirely that I don't want to go into, but this will allow you to repeat your macro in different places so that it's not anchored, it's not absolute to a particular place. So, but now we want to use just this record macro. So it's asking us, what is a macro name? Let's name it as day 3 task. Day 3 task. So simple like that, but you can decide to name it whatever you want. And remember that when you are naming like this, don't give a space. It will not accept space, except you want to use an underscore to bind them together. So we can say, which shortcut do we want to use? Let's use Control Shift U. Control Shift U. Let me write that down. Control Shift U. So now it's saying store macro in personal macro workbook. If you want to have a separate macro workbook, that is fine. And you can also store in a new workbook. You can store in this workbook. Let's go with the default. Let's store in this workbook. And you can give it any description that you so wishes. Macro for the 3 tasks. So now the macro is recording. The macro is recording now. You can see that. So everything you do here is being watched and recorded by macro. And you can then repeat that step over and over again. So let's just go through that date generation first. You can say if, what is our logical test? This beginning dates, which we want to fix, plus using the row function to, to pass the numbers into it, plus row 1, are you greater than this ending dates, which I will also fix. If the value is true, return me blank. But if it is not true, oh, I think I made a mistake there. What I'm going to bring is I'm going to bring this beginning date first. And then say, if my logical test beginning dates, which I'll fix, plus row 1. I already explained this, so I don't have to waste much time on this again. Are you greater than my ending dates? So if that is true, return me blank. But if it is false, return me my beginning dates plus 1. And that is it. I can then take everything down. So if you're out of the range, I can delete. But if I want, I can also decide to leave it in case the parameter changes, or in case we want to extend this ending date to the 31st of January 2022. Then automatically it will populate itself. But for the purpose of this training, let me just take that one out. Let me delete it. So now we want to return the NAV, as I explained before. So we're going to say index. Where is a array? I'm going to be a bit fast here. Where is a array? Is under NAV array. We're going to say AUM underscore NAV. Then it's asking for the row number. We use a match function and pass our double parameter. And we're going to say this date here, which we're going to anchor, we're going to fix the column but allow the rows to move, should be equals to date in the AUM worksheet, that date in this our data sets. So we're going to say AUM underscore date. We close the first condition, then pass the second condition. The second condition is this EMQQ. We fix everything, both rows and column, should be equals to the array of assets that we have. That is AUM underscore ticker. Then we close the second condition. And having done that, as then we ask us for the type of match that we want. We want the perfect match. Close the match function and close the index function, and we click, we press enter. And you can see that. So we can copy to the right. The only thing we have to change here, we have to change this to what? To AUM. And that is that. We can also do the same thing here. And what we have to do is that we also have to change this one to shares outstanding. It said SO. So we have to format that cell to number. We have to format that cell to number. So in fact, we remove the decimal place. I would like us to customize it this way. Number, customize, so that we can divide it by 1,000,000. We can divide it by 1,000,000. So if we say 0.0, this we divide by 1,000. So let me not just go into this concept so that I don't overcomplicate this issue for you. Let's just leave it as number like this, 0 decimal place, and then we can click OK. So fine. So we've been able to generate our data, and then we can take everything down by double clicking on this square, the little square here. If you double click on it, it will populate the whole set of data. So right now, we've recorded everything in macro. We can then go back to our developer tab and stop recording, because you have to stop recording, otherwise it's going to continue recording everything you do for the whole day. So having stopped recording, you remember that the shortcut that we used is Control-Shift-U. So even if we clear everything here, we delete everything, and we just press our Control Shift U. You can see that it has populated it for us automatically. So what I typed is Control plus Shift plus U. And we have everything that we want. So let me just do that again. You know, it's very interesting doing this kind of thing. It's just as if you are playing video game. So when you press your Control, because let me open back. We can come here and check our macro. Look at it. Edit. So when you edit like this, it will bring you back to where it was recorded in VBA. You know, everything we were doing in Excel when we were recording in macro is actually coding it in the backend in VBA. You can see everything we did. Day 3 task macro for 3 days, keyboard. You know, this is a Control plus Shift plus U, and the range is B7 select. So the whole coding is done here in VBA. But we are not going to go into details of VBA today, maybe some other day, but not within this series. We'll talk on how to, you know, produce your own functions using VBA in Excel. So we can close that out. Then if you press our Control Shift U again, it's still populated. Interesting, right? So one more thing, I want to take it a step further. Let me delete everything. I want to take it a step further. You know, I told you that we want it to be button activated. You can see what we're talking about here. Create a dynamic array formula or VBA macro button activated. So the button activated macro is what we're going to do now. In order to get the button activated, just come back to this, your developer tab. You will see this toolbox or something like a briefcase. So when you click on it, it's going to bring you some control keys that you can use. We use this for different things. There's the one that we use for combo box in switching from one thing to the other. But this is what we need. Button form control. So when you click that, it's going to give you something like, you know, a plus sign, and you can make a button. So when you make a button like that, immediately, instantly, this is going to come up. This is going to come up. So let's see if we can change that button name. Let's change it to task. Let's say day 3. Let's see. So we are going to pass this into it. That our day 3 task. If you also remember, we name our macro as day 3 task. So we're just going to pass this into it. I think we cannot rename our button. So let's just leave it as day 3 task. Then we click OK. So automatically you have that here. So if you now press this button now, instead of pressing Control Shift U, you can just click on this button and, you know, your data is populated automatically. So that is it. So in case I delete everything again, and then I come here, I can either press Control Shift U, it will still work, but that is not what I want to do. I want to click on this button again. That is it. So this is button activated macro that we were talking about. So lastly, before we go, we want to create a chart with all this data set that we have here. You know, the task says, oh, I don't know why this thing keeps cutting off at the right. So it keeps, the task says, produce a chart of AUM and shares outstanding from this data. So we could just highlight our dates. You can do that by pressing on your control key, you know, to highlight multiple columns. So if I press my control key, everything is highlighted. Sorry, let me start that over again. So you can just take everything down and then press control. So you can highlight everything up. And this is our AUM. AUM from 1st of January 2021 to 31st of January 2021. So we can also highlight this down the same way, Why is this not working? I think I have to go over it again. I beg your pardon. I don't want to leave anything out. Okay, so I'll just make this thing simple. Then I'll highlight the two just at the same time. Fine. Okay, perfect. So we can then go to our insert ribbon, then insert charts. What kind of chart do we need? In this kind of situation where we have many, we have many items, this is dates from 1st of January 2021 to 31st of December 2021. So the best chart to use in this situation would be these line charts. So we can then say, okay, now we have our line charts. Interesting. So let me try to zoom out a little bit. I think that is too much. So if I bring this here and extend it to fill everywhere, I want to make it a bit bigger. Another thing I would like to do is that I want to remove all these grid lines. So you can do that by coming to your view tab and then uncheck grid lines. Grid lines, when you uncheck it, you see that the grid lines are gone. So another way you can do that is when you press Alt W VG, that will bring it back, and you press it again, Alt W VG, it will clear the grid lines. So we can call this what? AUM versus shares outstanding charts. So you can decide to format this a little bit. So let's take everything to the middle. Let's align everything. Instead of like merging cell, we can just align this way. We align everything across the selection. Then we click OK. We can also come here. You can do some fancy things here to make it to make it stand out. So I like to use this kind of thing. Use white. You can make it bold, or you can increase the size like that. So let's format this our chart here. So the way you format that chart, the question says we should make, okay, so we need to extend this series. Let's see, extend it here. Okay, fine. So that instead of having series, this, that. So what I want to do now is that I want to rename this series as AUM and shares outstanding. So I can just right click and say, where is my select data? Yes, this one is fine. So I can rename this as, I can then click on this series one. I think series one is for the AUM. So if I edit that, I can name it as what? AUM. I can name it as AUM. So I think that is better. And series two, I will name it as what? I'll name it as shares outstanding. Okay, so that's better than saying series one, series two. So this shares outstanding, line, I want to make it secondary axis. So when you click on the line like this, you can come to this, you can come to the formats, that is chart formats. When you click on this chart formats, it's going to give you this additional window. Then you can see this little drop-down arrow here. So when you click that, it's going to bring this blade, or what should I call it now? This window where you can further format your charts. So you want to make it a secondary axis as the question required. So you just click on this and automatically it's made a secondary axis. So that is not how we want to do. Another way to bring that format window is just to click on the charts and then press Ctrl+1 to still bring it out. So we want to remove field, we want to say no field, we want to say no line. And what else can we do? The way this thing this is the it's just too unpleasant to the eyes by seeing all these 4 million or something like that. So let's divide it by, okay, if I click on this axis, I can, I can reduce that number that we have there. So let's see. I want to display my unit in what? In millions. So you can see instead of 450 million, I just have 450. Then I haven't done that. I can then, I can customize that if I want to add million to it. So let's change this one towards, this is 450. Let's change that to currency. Fine. Currency. And then we can still add, should we remove decimal? Let's remove decimal. Then we can put this million sign like that so that we can know that we're looking at millions. So we're going to do the same thing for this secondary axis, which is for the AUM. Control 1 again to bring out these this formats window, chart format window. And what we want is that we want it to also display units in millions. And then we come here, this one should be general. Yeah, fine. So I think this is all we need to do. Or we can also, okay, let's make it number. Let's make it number. And we say no decimal. Then we can add million to that too, million. So we can add that. Let's see the way it's looking now. So I think it's looking much better. So we can say from this date to this date, this is, and another thing is that I don't like the way this chart looks. Okay, first I want to remove the grid lines, and then let me see. Okay, so this is much more better. This is much more better. I will even encourage us to expand the charts so that give us more room. If we expand it this way, and then we want to delete this million sign here. Since we already, I mean, we've added the million behind all the numbers. So we can delete this to create more room. We can also delete this. Now you see that our chart is looking better. In fact, since we already have title, chart title, so we can take that one out. And we can take this, legend, we can take it up by coming here to this plus sign. So legend, take legend to the top. So here we can still push this one down a little bit. All right. Why is that not working? Okay, you can take this down a little bit. So you can see the way it is. So this is our chart of AUM versus shares outstanding. And we've been able to format it in $1 million, in million. In this place, I just don't want this decimal place. I don't want it to be in decimal. So I will just come here and under numbers. Okay, so let's just delete the decimal place. Let's delete it here. So we can add that. So you can see what we've got now. Very easy to read and easy to understand. So this is how we can use our button activated macros. So if we go back here and delete all the data, so we don't have anything in our chart again, we can then press our Ctrl-Shift-U, bring back our data, automatically our chart is generated. Or if you close everything, if you delete everything again, and instead of pressing Ctrl-Shift-U in case you even forgot, you can just click on this button and you have everything you need. So this is where we're going to be stopping today. Thank you very much for watching this video. In case you have any question, do not hesitate to leave your comments in the comment section, or you can also get across to me directly. I'll be very happy to reply you as early as possible or as quick as possible. Thank you very much. Have a blessed day. Bye to you.